Welcome to Stuck, Time to Improv. I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff, and I want startups to be wildly successful. I always love talking to investors, and today we've got Oliver Mitchell from FF Ventures Capital talking about what do AI and robotics startups need to know before they talk to an investor. Thanks for coming, Oliver.
Thank you, Mary.
So, how did you get interested in investing in AI, for example?
Yeah, so I've been investing in this space for quite some time. A longtime founder, operator. I've built companies. I've sold them along the way to big multinational organizations like American Express and Johnson Controls. And after my last startup, which was in the STEM robotic space, I started to take a deep dive into the industrial robotic space. And I did that of one of two ways. The first way is I organized my own investment vehicle called Autonomy Ventures, and I made a bunch of investments and had about 8 exits. Three of them were really significant. One in the medical device space called Novacure out of Israel that trades today about 3 billion market cap. Another one out of UC Berkeley, the first exoskeleton introduced, robotic exoskeleton for both paraplegics and able-bodied people. And that also trades today on the NASDAQ, Exobionics. And my last one was in the AI ad tech space called Triple Lift. And got bought by Vista for 1.4 billion. So that was really nice. I ended up joining FF and really open up deep tech there. I sit on a bunch of boards there. We have companies like Plus One, Burrow, in farming, managed drone delivery, Cambridge Robotics, and in AI computer vision for cobots and civ robotics and construction tech. Finally, the other way I engage in the community is I write a lot of articles about the business of robots, questioning what is the value proposition, how is this going to get high reliability, usability, and payback. And now all that's capsulated in a book called A Startup Field Guide in the Age of Robots and AI, and how to take your nascent idea from napkin drawing all the way to IPO. I interviewed, 30 great luminaries in the space and just learning from their successes.
Great. You're really on the cutting edge. So, what kinds of mistakes would a robotics company make when they start pitching to you?
Yeah, I think the first, mistake beyond the pitch is that they get attracted to the technology, and the technology is, really sexy and everything, like a humanoid or generative AI, but they don't really think about what problem are they really solving. And this is a really big debate within the robotic space, right? You have companies like Tesla building Optimus and Figure AI that are trying to build general purpose robots. And then you have
Right.
other companies like Persona AI, where I'm an advisor, that's building a humanoid for shipbuilding, for welding. And it's really looked at the entire industry and says, where is the biggest hole in the industry that humanoids could be additive? And we see that the most underemployed area right now is in welding, that there's more job openings than welders to fill. And also, it's a national imperative because shipbuilding, we used to build a ship a week here in the United States. We built all of three last year. And so we just don't have the skill set here, and neither do our allies, like in South Korea. They're building a task-driven library that their humanoids can, build ships, go into energy, go into construction, while other people are really focused on that general purpose robot.
And
And that
one of
goes,
the things they need to remember is that, like the auto industry has been using robots forever. And a robot needs to be able to function really well. It doesn't have to look like a humanoid. And it's
right.
those kinds of things that people need to think about, to your point about understanding what problem you're solving.
100%. And so also a robot can't just be doing a job for 2 hours a day and 22 hours a day. It's, collecting a lot of dust, even if it does that 2 hours a day really well. You need high utilization, as you said, high reliability, and you need payback. It can't be more expensive than what you're currently paying. And so that I bring up the general purpose robots and the task-driven robots as an extreme example, but really that people get attracted to technology and don't really say, well, what is the problem? What's the mission critical problem that I'm solving? And now let me look in the toolbox. What do I need to solve that problem? It might be AI, it might be a robot, it might be a database. And so you really have to look at these technologies as tools in a toolbox to see what is best fit for the problem that you're solving in the market. People that do that really well have great successes. I had a great conversation that I featured in my book with Mick Mounts, the founder of Kiva Systems. Mick started his career at Webvan, which was a big dot-com bust for, that did a public offering, raised 100 million, $800 million, and went bankrupt about less than 2 years later because one, it didn't really know what the customer wanted for an online grocery store. And number two, it was taping $20 to every box that went out the door because his fulfillment centers, while they were beautiful, they were not really thought through for this new type of e-commerce fulfillment. And so when he left that job, he's like, wow, Webvan was the first one to open up the carton. We used to ship a full carton of ragu tomato sauce to the supermarket. Now that we're opening up the cartons, we got one can of tomato sauce, one box of pasta. We need a specialized tool to do that. And he said the best way is to bring the shelving to the picker who's going to repack those boxes. And that's what became Kiva Systems. And it paid for itself after Amazon acquired it within 6 months.
So another thing people need to think about is, has somebody else already addressed this problem? And if you can do it better, do you want to collaborate with them or do you want to go in competition, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I go through the 5 rules in my book for robotic startups. Rule number one, high utilization. A robot needs to be working all the time. Rule number two, shit can't fail. It has to be reliable. Rule number three, you need payback. It can't just be astronomically expensive and that an organization it doesn't pay for itself. Rule number three, you need an IP moat. You can't just be going into something that is marginally different. It has to be head and shoulders. It has to be 10 times better than what's currently being done at half the cost, 10 times the speed. And so, rule number five, you really need to know who your target customers are and like start at the low-hanging fruit and then grow that customer lifetime value.
This has been so exciting. Thank you so much for coming, Oliver Mitchell. We'll put links in the comments so people can get your book and find out more about those 5 rules and some other things that any startup in the AI or robotics field need to know. And I'm Mary Scott with Business Riff. I want startups to be wildly successful. And one of the best things you can do to accomplish that is book a call with me at businessriff.com. And join us again next time for Stop, Time to Improv.